Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. It's been quite a while. It feels like it's been quite a while since I've made my last video, and the last video covered Arabic grammar. Today's video I'd like to focus on Arabic morphology, and I'll try and cover everything we've done in our Arabic morphology lessons, and then I'll go back to the Arabic grammar, the ones that the lessons that we've done, the 1 or 2 lessons that we will be doing before the exams. I'll try and get those covered, inshallah. But I've not made any videos on Arabic morphology, so I'll try and focus on Arabic morphology and try and cover everything we've learned so far, inshallah. So without further ado, I'll begin. So what is Arabic morphology? So sarf is morphology. It refers to the study of words, how they are formed and how they are linked to other words by studying the structure of words. So Arabic morphology, first of all, we'll go through some definitions, and this we've already done in our Arabic grammar. So this should be a quick revision session for everyone, for all the sisters. So ism is a noun. For example, Muhammadun, Mecca, and Zamzam. So Muhammad being a name, Mecca being the holy city of Mecca Mukarramah, Zamzam being referring to the holy water Zamzam. Fi'al is a verb. For example, Nasara. By now everyone should know what Nasara means, which means he helped. Yansuru, he is helping, will help. Unsur, you help. So the fi'al, the verb, can be in the past tense, it can be in the present or future tense. And the present and future tense in Arabic is one. It's not separate. And so it can be the so a fi'al has a time, a past, present, future associated with it, whereas an ism is independent in its meaning and message, and it doesn't there's no time or place associated with it. So it's not got a past, present, or future, whereas the fi'al has. Harf, moving on to harf, as we remember, is a particle. For example, min, ba, ka'anna. So the ones we've learned so far, so for example, we've learned like fi, ala, ila, and we've learned min, like from. So these are the ones we've learned. Haraka is a certain mark, diacritical point, which is added upon or below a letter to indicate a special pronunciation. So fatha, as we know it as commonly in our language, we know it as zabar. So this denotes the sound of and it's at the top of a letter. Fatha, the Arabic way of saying it is fatha. The Urdu way of saying it is zabar. Most of us know it as zabar. So then we've got the dhamma. The dhamma denotes the sound of and it is as such. So by now everyone should be familiar with that. Sorry, my cold still hasn't gone away. So the last but not least is the kasra. So the kasra is added below a letter, which denotes the sound of e. So it's below the letter, so as such. And sisters, everyone I'm sure is familiar with that, but I just thought, just to re-jog our memories, we'll just put that in. A jazm or a sukoon, so it looks as such, and this is added upon a letter and serves the process of connecting 2 letters in pronunciation. So it doesn't have a sound as such. For example, here we can see it's on top of jazm. So it just stops the sound jazm and it just connects the letters. There are 3 types of mutaharrik letters. So we're going to go on to the 3 different types of mutaharrik letters. So we have the maftuhun, which is a letter which has a fatha upon it. So any letter which has a fatha upon it is known as maftuhun. Madmumun, a letter which has a dhamma upon it, and maksurun, a letter which has a kasra beneath it. So the way we learn these words, if you're struggling to learn these words, So if you look at that one, maftuhun, it's got fataha, which is made out of fatha. So all it is, fataha comes in the word and you've got the meme in front of it. Fatha maftuhun. So dhamma, the word dwad meme, dhamma is inside the word dhamma here. Dwad meme, we have the word dhamma. So madmumun, which is the word, which means a letter which has a dhamma in it, upon it. I'm just giving an easy way to remember it. And maksurun, kasra, kaf, sin, and ra, kasra, a letter which has a kasra beneath it. So I'm just saying a way of remembering the words, memorizing it, okay? So majzumun. Majzumun is a letter which has a jazm upon it. It is not classed as a mutaharrik letter because a mutaharrik letter contains sound, whereas a majzum letter doesn't contain any sound. So the jazm is not classed as a mutaharrik letter. Only the dhamma fatha and the kasra on the letters are. So just an important point to remember. Now we're going to move on to the different types of verbs. And there's two different types. There's the past tense verb and the present tense. So the past, the present, and the future tense. So the past tense, as we've covered, and sisters, you should be familiar with right now. So the past tense is I'm just adding the sukoon, I've missed it out. Sorry about that. Right, it's done discreetly. Al-fi'l al-madi. So this is the past tense verb. So I've given some examples. Nasara, which means he helped. Fataha, which means he opened. Istakhraja, which means he took out. So these are examples of a past tense verb, and it means something which has already occurred. Al-fi'l al-mudari, on the other hand, is a present and future tense verb. Notice that in the Arabic, you have the present. It could be referring to a present or a future tense verb. This is known as one. It's known as a fi'l al-mudari. It's not two separate ones. It comes under one category. Gives information about actions in either the present tense or future. E.g., ya'budu, he is worshipping, will worship. Yasma'u, he is listening, will listen. Yastansiru, he is seeking help, will seek help. So sisters, if you're still not familiar with these words, go through the video, listen to it, listen to the terms and definitions, how they're pronounced, write it out, because I can't stress how important it is to write these words out, because it will help you learn the Arabic. It will aid in remembering these words. So a good way is to write them out, to cover them up, and see how if you can recall it back from memory. If you can't, you have a little peek again, and then continue on covering and writing until you're able to do this. And at first, yes, it is, like we make, many of the sisters, many of us, we make the excuse that we're not getting it, it's not sinking in. But just because it doesn't sink in the first instant, doesn't mean we can't learn it. Some of us may grasp it in the first or second go. It may take longer for others, but we will definitely learn. If we can learn, we know how to read and write English. We know other languages such as Urdu and Bangla and so on and so forth. So we have no excuse. We can do this, sisters. We just need to exert that effort and work hard, and inshallah we'll get there. Okay, so I've got some verbs. I've wrote some verbs down and just explaining what they mean. So we've got al-amr, and amr is a commanding verb. For example, if'al, which means you do. Unsur means you help. Ijtanib, you refrain. An-nahyu is a prohibition. It means it's prohibiting an action. For example, la taf'al, don't do. La tadrib, don't hit. And la tarqud means don't sleep. So these are some commanding verbs. We've also come across these in the Arabic grammar textbook, if you can remember. And so sisters should be pretty familiar with this by now. Al-fi'lul mustaqbal, it generally refers to the previous three types of verbs. So it's the verb is called the af'al. So the fi'l al-mustaqbal, it refers to the fi'l al-madi and amr and an-nahyu. The isbat and musbat, the isbat musbat, it's the same thing, but known as isbat musbat. It refers to the positivity of an action taking place or has taken place. Isbat means, the word isbat, don't know if you can see it clearly here. So it says isbat here, and it means affirmation or to affirm. Nafi manfi means refers to lack of, negativity of an action having taken place, and is the opposite of, little mistake there, isbat. So nafi manfi is the opposite of isbat musbat. So isbat musbat means positivity of an action taking place, like you do, you help, you refrain. And nafi manfi means a prohibition, an action, and refers to a lack of action. So for example, la taf'al, la tadrib, and la tarqud, as mentioned before. So sisters, we can write these down and then try to attempt to learn these words if we haven't already. Isbat and nafi are only associated with past tense verbs, al-fi'l al-madi, and future present tense verbs, al-fi'l al-mudari, not with commanding verbs, al-amr or prohibitions, and nahyu. So just to remember that the isbat and nafi, so the commanding verbs, are only associated with al-fi'l al-madi and fi'l al-madari, and not with al-amr and al-nahyu, with commanding verbs. So this is something that point that we should bear in mind. So going on to the next page, al-huruf al-asliya. These are the original letters in a word, also used as a base to create various different words, also known as root letters, base letters, and true letters. The minimum amount of original letters a word can contain is 3 letters. The maximum amount varies. For a fi'l, the most they can extend to are 4 letters. For an ism, they can increase up to 5 letters. So the asliya, most of, like, so for example, the Arabic words, the fi'ls, as we've learned so far, most of them consist of 3 letters. For example, fa'ala, daraba, kataba, sajada, etc. So these are the ones that contain 3 letters, the verbs. It says here that ism can contain even more, up to 5 letters in general. The huruf za'ida, just do a close up there, is the extra letters which are added to to a huruf al-asliya. So they are the extra letters. So we're going to come on to that soon. Al-huruf al-asliya of any word are generally split into 3 sections. So if you remember, if we have the word fa'ala, it's the fa kalima, ain kalima, and the lam kalima, and this is like the template used for all verbs. Huruf al-asliya will fall directly in line with the 3 sections. Any words which are not parallel to the 3 sections will be classed as huruf al-za'ida, the extra letters. So for example, daraba is on the fa kalima, the dwad. The ain kalima, you've got the ra, and the lam kalima, you've got the ba, daraba. So you know these words are huruf al-asliya. And here it says when huruf al-za'ida are added onto the original 3, 4, 5 letters, it is more difficult to distinguish. The word ijtanaba is a huruf al-za'ida. It has more than 3 letters. The way to recognize the extra letters is to put it in parallel to the template of ifta'ala. So if we look at the word ijtanaba, Sorry about that. When you're trying to make a lesson, there's always someone who needs to take a peek to see what you're doing. Anyway, continuing on. Ijtanaba. So if we've got the word ifta'ala, and we can see how ijtanaba, it falls on the letters fa kalima, the ain kalima, and the lam kalima. So we know the extra letters, the alif and the ta, these are the extra letters. So because the jim and the noon and the ba take the place of the fa, ain and lam. So the extra letters are the alif and ta. So by putting it on this template, we can find out. We can find out what the extra letters are. So I've wrote from this template, we see that the jim and the noon and the ba are huruful asliya, and the alif and the ta are huruful zaida. So I hope you understand this lesson, sisters. And if not, I'd like you to just go over what's been said, and then inshallah go over it, take down the necessary notes, learn the key definitions and terms, and then inshallah you will understand. It might take a few attempts, but inshallah if we continue on persisting, then inshallah our efforts will prove fruitful. So inshallah in my next video I will cover the signs of a verb. So I'm just giving you a sneak preview here, and the next video I'll be making is on the signs of a verb. So inshallah I will see you soon. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.